Howdy, howdy, everyone. We're finally back to a regular release schedule. Did you miss us?
I hope somebody came back. By the way, did you hear about that picture of a black hole? First one in human history. Ah, yes. Synchronicity.
Only BSG could play a video game, and reality itself conforms to the contents of that video game. We'll have time travel by the end of this Let's Play. Don't think I'm not right.
Are you saying that that's actually a picture of a time-traveling Chuny Kerr black hole? The black hole itself is a Kerr black hole, and it's a Chuny time traveler.
No.
Why not? You said synchronicity.
I think your synchro rate's a bit too high. Speaking of Chuny Kerr black holes, with Bittersweet Gamers.
I'm relatively positive that I am not a Kerr black hole. I'm the opinionator.
No, but you are a Chuny. I'm We Squared.
Maybe I was at one point, and maybe I've become one now.
This, too, is the choice of Steins game.
But wait! There's just one more thing. A brand new segment that we're going to be doing at the beginning of every single episode.
Everything is different now. We just don't have time to engage with the comments as much as we want to.
The way that we want to. There's just only so much time. But we really appreciate them and we really value them, and we always get some really good comments.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our favorite comment from every episode
and briefly respond to it.
Because if we can't show our appreciation to all of you, we'll pick favorites.
I guess fundamentally that's what it is, isn't it? And so, without further ado, because we have so far had more than enough ado, wouldn't you say?
I don't.
Our first top comment comes from episode 16 from JB. This comment is in response to starting with the conclusion and working backwards.
JB says, is there any other way to make a fictional scientific explanation for something in the context of a sci-fi story than by starting at the desired conclusion? I mean, yeah, maybe it's pretty clear in this case that they needed a very specific way to make this work, but it's not like even physicists have the credentials to explain things we don't know about singularities, etc.
Well said!
It's true, when you're writing a story, you do kind of have to start with your idea and then make it work after the fact. That is kind of how storytelling works.
Like you said, in fiction, there is no other way to do it. I do, however, think that that type of thinking, starting with the conclusion and working your way back, can only really be relied upon in fiction, not real life.
What are you talking about? That's how I've lived every day of my life. Why is it a shambles?
And so, we leave the shambles of Billy's wrecked and destroyed life to move on with a discussion of chaos theory.
The two might be related.
What? One more thing I liked about your comment, not even physicists have the credentials to explain things we don't know. I realize it's like a tautology, but there's something profound in actually acknowledging we don't know what we don't know. Don't you think?
I don't know.
Your face is a tautology.
I'm not sure how to take that.
Thanks, JB. Keep it up.
そうそう、それ。カウス理論の一つ。
Aye. Last time Moeka was forced into the group and keeps doing everything she's specifically told not to do.
What a rebel.
And the phone wave, name subject to change, was modified into the phone wave 2nd edition version 1.03.
Yes. I don't know what happened to the 1.02, but...
He already discarded that build to move on to the next one.
Okay. Making sure we're on the same page.
So,
つ
chaos
まりあん
theory.
たの言う些細なことでも意図的に変えれば未来に重大な影響を及ぼすかもしれない。
Someone get Jeff Goldblum on the phone! That was a Jurassic Park reference.
Ah, it's nice to see that after our blank, we are returning by referencing old movies.
その責任をどう取るつもり？
Moi? Take responsibility?
タイターはこう言っていた。世界は多世界解釈で成り立っていると。
だから過去を変えてもいいって？あんなうさんくさい自称タイムトラベラーの妄想を信じるの？
Okarin was saying that their goal is to try and change the past to make sure that they can, so that they can do, well, we don't know. We haven't got there yet. And obviously that is dangerous, and thus that is what Kurisu is arguing.
妄想だと証明できるのか？
Everything he said has turned out to be true.
But I think that's a pretty shaky basis.
We shouldn't do it, but of course there would be no game if we didn't, so...
妄想をよりどころにして行動した結果、取り返しのつかないことになったらどうするのかって言ってる。
For some reason, I always end up getting emotional whenever I argue with this impertinent assistant of mine. It's as if we have opposing values. Such weakness is unbefitting of an insane, mad scientist. I need to calm down and more forcefully ram my point through.
Interesting that he's not like being accusing of her, but sort of chiding himself.
Yeah,
he's like, I need to not let myself get so caught up in her pace.
Huh.
クリスティーナよ。お前は以前こう言っていたな。
As a reminder, his phone's been going off the whole time. We assume it is the male demon's shining finger trying to constantly tell him something.
Because she can't just say anything. I mean, I suppose it could be all the test emails they sent, like just now arriving, but I think it's Moika.
仮説を積み上げて、理論が観測されたとき、それは本物になる。そうやって、現代物理学は宇宙のすべての真実を理解すると矛盾しているぞ。
As has been said, the plural of anecdote is data, though some people just hate that.
いいえ、してない。この電話レンジの原理にはまだ仮説すら構築されていない。
Also, last time we spent some time talking about how far back they could actually send a D-mail.
Yeah.
But if you send a D-mail back 20 years, there isn't a piece of equipment that can pick it up. At least from now.
今の私たちは手探り状態と言える。こんな状態で過去を変えてみようなんてリスクが大きすぎる。
Honestly, they probably only have a window of a couple of years because the cell phone network probably doesn't exist too far back.
せめてもうちょっと調べてからにすべき。
Oh? So she's not unconditionally opposed. What would the condition be? We know more about it. We know there's no consequences. We're able to effectively use it to impede CERN. What are those conditions? Eh? Eh?
実は試してみたくてうずうずしているのではないか？
そんなこと。
Just for scientific research purposes.
Don't destroy the world, guys.
そもそも助手よ。お前は電話レンジカッコ仮はタイムマシンではないと思いたがっていたのではなかったかな？
Or do you want to prove that it is?
タイムマシンでないなら過去を変えることなどできない。それが証明できるかもしれないのになぜ否定する？
She's not against it on principle. She's against your whole cause chaos through time.
Well, nobody's talking about that.
うるさいな。
それにタイムパラドックスのことを言うならばセルンはどうだ？奴らはすでに100人以上の人間を過去に送り込んでいる。タイムパラドックスの一つや二つ起きていても不思議ではない。
That's a good point. Being cautious is one thing, but when you look at the sort of technology arms race that's going on, CERN has completely ignored all of it because that's their stated goal.
Yeah!
So we're gonna have to cause problems if we intend to stop them. That is what we're doing, right? Nobody's ever actually really said that. We're just assuming.
I like to think that Ho and Kyoma is the hero.
Well, he's certainly not the random passerby. By the by, Moeka has been emailing me non-stop since our roundtable conference began, as if to join in on the conversation without her mouth. As you might imagine, this is incredibly annoying, so I have ignored all of them. If you've got something to say, just say it. Sheesh.
あんな非人道的な実験をしてる連中と同じレベルまで落ちるつもり？
I mean, well...
人体実験などしないしできないのだから安心しろ。
Yet?
Daru?
オカリン、あのね、マユシーはよくわかんないんだけど、過去を変えるって何をどう変えるの？
Forgetting the philosophical stuff and cutting right to the heart of the matter. In fact, what are you doing? Finally, some constructive conversation. I sure hope Moeka hasn't said anything useful.
Right? Imagine if she's been providing all these piercing insights.
では答えよう。俺がこの作戦において何をしたいかというと。
Yes?
宝くじを当てるのだ
How earth-shatteringly practical!
Well, if they won the lottery, they might have funds that are comparable.
I think that they're right. You know, again with the Back to the Future stuff, but this is exactly the sort of thing you ought to do, right? Like this, you're using the power of time travel to, without hurting anyone at all, enrich yourself.
Yeah.
There are no victims, there are no sacrifices, only gain. Now, you may use that gain to do extremely selfish things.
But one step at a time.
Come on. Everybody who has thought about time travel has thought about doing this, right? Right?
I admit to nothing.
And if everyone is just gonna immediately say, oh, you only care about money, Okarin, why shouldn't they do this? Aren't they trying to fight CERN?
Money is not inherently bad. It's what you do with the money. And that's the human element.
Well, don't forget how you get the money.
Well, also that too, I suppose, yes.
Though I'm pretty sure you would completely destroy the concept of a lottery if you kept doing it over and over, but you have to show some restraint.
Yeah. Or if you keep winning the lottery every year, I suspect someone's gonna notice.
For one, the IRS, well, not in Japan, but like the tax guys are going to live in your house trying to audit you. And for that matter, it's also possible that every lottery commissioner is going to live in your house trying to figure out how you're cheating if they haven't already been shut down. Speaking of being shut down...
We're the Bittersweet Gamers?
It seemed appropriate. Everyone except for Moeka looks at me in shock. I knew it! What's the problem?
僕は賛成。金があれば PC パーツ買えるし、メイクインにも行きまくれるじゃん。むしろ試さない方がおかしいっしょ。
I think they're shocked he came up with something so practical and normal.
You may be right. That's my super hacker!
現金だな、オカリン。マユシーは悲しいです。
You
Why?
can have all the bananas you want.
Even if we forget that, doesn't this give us the ability to fund the research?
もっとね、世界が平和になる方法とかを考えるべきじゃないかな。
Such as stop CERN from ruling the world by changing history and destroying everyone's lives? I agree! And you want to know what? That stuff ain't for free. What happens in every single RPG? You have to go fight monsters and earn some stinking money!
Well, we don't got a Mementos boss to confuse and grind.
Who the hell am I fighting?
例えばね、世界中のすべての人がウーパクッションを持っているようにするとか。
Let's call that Plan B, Mayushi.
世界が平和にだと？なんだその偽善は。 俺を誰だと思っている。狂気のマッドサイエンティスト。
Sounds like he was about to start choking and fall over.
岡部、志が低すぎ。
Ouch.
Well done. I'm surrounded by idealists.
そもそも趣旨を履き違えるな。
Oh, that's what she meant. She was saying, money, that's stupid. I thought you had ambition to do something big. For goodness sake. The one time he's being practical and everyone makes fun of him.
Well, to be honest, everyone makes fun of him anyway.
Point taken, point taken.
So you can't really complain.
世界平和だとか志など知ったことではない。これは過去を変えられるかどうかを確かめる実験なのだ。
Ah, so it's an experiment. That if it turns out to work, not only can he prove that it works, but he'll also gain from it.
Well, I think more like they'll have proven that it worked already.
Yeah.
But this way they can gain from what they have just figured out.
最もわかりやすいのは宝くじを当てられるか当てられないかだろ
う。でも最大の目的はお金だろ。
What's wrong with it? It's one thing if you're ripping somebody off.
Or knocking over a bank.
Taking money from some place that doesn't belong to you or obtaining it in an unethical way. Now, you could say that this is unethical, and you might be right. But, well, if everybody did it, it would be bad, but not everybody has a time machine.
And CERN doesn't need the money.
Or they've already done something like this. You can do stuff less flashy and immediate to stockpile money.
That's true.
But, I mean, they generally don't need it because they're being internationally funded.
Yeah.
It's also true that a lot of things, like tax law is a great example of this. People, especially wealthy people, will do what is within the bounds of the law. If you want them to do something different, if you change the law, then they can do what is within the bounds of the law, but those boundaries will be different.
Yes.
Okay? So, obviously in the future, you can't have people using time travel to win the lottery. But does that mean that since it's not currently illegal, that it's probably not unethical? I mean, there's a case for it. It reminds me of Trails from Zero. One of the characters is doing something involving hacking, and it is very shady. But it's not illegal. Now, he assumes in the future it's going to be illegal, and he's going to stop doing it when it is. But for the moment, it's not. Is what he's doing wrong? Maybe it's not exactly right, but, you know.
I'm going to take your point, and I'm going to dash it against the rocks with a very funny comparison.
Oh, no.
Are you trying to apply the Airbud clause? There's no rule that specifically says dogs can't play basketball.
And Billy comes up with yet another old movie. Maybe we should start keeping count of these. But as soon as I do, he'll stop, because that's always what happens. But kind of, yeah.
Don't take me seriously.
金を手に入れればこんなオンボロビルからもおさらばだ。ふはははは。大ビルか UPX に事務所を構えてやる。
ほら、やっぱり。
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
What if they can spend more of their time doing scientific research?
If they're not above Mr. Brown, they don't have to worry about when they can experiment.
綺麗事ではないのだよ。事務所を移れば開花のムキムキ店長の影に怯えず実験もやり放題。金があれば未来ガジェットに使える研究費も確保できる。
30%.
Something that I am rather distressed by, though, is the lack of what are we going to do about CERN?
You know, baby steps.
I get that it's not necessarily their responsibility, but they're the only people that know about it, so isn't it their responsibility?
Well, to be fair, they've got some time.
Well, that's true, I guess. But they're the only people who know about CERN. It all appears to be true, and they're closer to a time machine than anyone other than CERN on the whole freaking planet. like, I get the idea of saying, well, we can't just go give this information to the authorities. They'll ignore it or laugh it off. So the only people who are going to do something about it are us, and nobody's saying that. I mean, they got to get towards that, right?
I'm sure they'll eventually get to it. In fact, the way this has been going, they'll talk about it in the next line.
それに、例えば100万円あれば、マユリの大好きなバナナはトラックの荷台が山盛りになるほど買えるのだぞ。
I noticed that you did say that, but that's like a sad little bribe.
Don't worry. With the way this episode's been going, I'm sure they'll talk about it in the next line.
トラックの荷台山盛り。
Well, she's on board.
That's all it took? This whole time you've been like, oh, Karin, don't do things that are bad. And then it's like a truckload of bananas makes you just not care about any of it?
Well, I mean, Daru can be bribed with potato chips.
Deposited into a Swiss bank account. So we're depositing bananas into one bank and chips into another.
Yeah, you know, food banks.
まゆりさん、このゴーツ配りに惑わされないで。
Do you have an actual complaint about it? What is it? He'll bribe her with the research
黙れ
funds.
セレブ17!
セレンディピティ
We already talked about that.
セレブ17
Don't you understand English, ma'am?
何よそれ。
親の金でホテル住まいをしている分際で人のことをゴーツ配りなどと言うな。
Yeah, she's a 17-year-old celebrity. I understood it. What's wrong with you? Keep up.
I'm 18 now, she protests, but I ignore her. It doesn't matter if she's 18. Sereb 17 sounds better.
萌香さん、あなたはどう思いますか？
I've been trying to tell my thoughts this entire time, but no one pays attention to me because I don't use words.
Dots.
あの、
Whatever my assistant was trying, it didn't work. I have no idea what Moeka is thinking, and I don't really care, but I'll treat her lack of opposition as approval. I will twist every situation to suit my ends.
不満があるならば代案を出すがいい。過去が変わったと分かりやすく認識できる些細な事象だ。何かあるか？
Well, if we're just... Look, I'd already said we could prove that we would be proving that you can change the past before winning the lottery. Like, of course, if you want to suggest something like that, then... Well, the only way is for them to actually receive something now and act upon it.
Yeah, which means they would have to do something in the future. But so far, every time we've seen a D-mail sent into the past, everyone acts like it just arrived.
Nobody ever read it before or when they got it. So
Because of the paradox rewrite.
Right. The D effect, we called it.
The D effect.
However, if they were to receive a message right now that made them do something, then that means they'd be ignoring the D effect. But can you ignore the D effect? We don't know. That's presumably, however, what we're going to find out.
I mean, Ocarine was able to ignore one world line shift, but he doesn't seem to be immune to it because the D effect affects him too.
Well, like we said at the end of the last episode, what appears to not make you have your memories rewritten, what we're calling the D effect, is to either physically travel through time, like John Titor, presumably,
Right.
or Suzuha, I guess, or to physically change world lines,
Like Ocarine.
like presumably Ocarine.
Yeah.
I guess this would be the thing to find out if you can actually do it. You can apparently can send things to the past, but you can't change anything.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting take, isn't it?
Now, it's possible that the game just hasn't touched upon it, and it will. here
Very
in a little
probable,
bit,
in fact,
But
yeah.
so far, based on the information we have, it can't really do anything with the D-mails.
うーん
私が今泊まっているホテルを変えてみる。
Huh.
俺たちには全く無関係な話だ。セレブ17は品川だろうがウグイス谷だろうがどこへでも好きに移ればいい。
And also, the D effect. If she changed hotels, they would all know that she was in a different hotel.
Including her.
Yeah.
そんな言い方しなくてもいいだろ。
っていうか、なぜにウグイス谷？
あそこにはラブホ街が。
Oh my god.
I see.
そういうくだらないこと言ってると、ロボトミー手術してあんたの前頭葉をかき出すぞ。
Oh no.
Holy crap! A lobotomy? That's Mando Scientisto stuff. Only crazy people do lobotomies, because they don't work.
Yeah. Lobotomy. A surgical brain treatment for mental disorders. A small hole is made in the skull and the frontal lobe is severed with a long scalpel. Or, in the more brutal cases, they take a metal spike, shove it in your tear duct, and slice it up that way.
Oh!
There are cases where this technique has cured mental disorders, enough to earn the inventor a Nobel Prize. However, the technique has also caused serious side effects, including loss of humanity. By the 1970s, many countries had banned the process because it doesn't work.
じゃあ、いつも買ってるジューシー唐揚げナンバーワンを若鶏一口唐揚げに変えてみるとかかな。
What?
Well, okay, but you can't. It's still the same problem. We have to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Which may mean that the thing to do isn't to send it back in time in the same world line, but to send it to a different world line.
Maybe?
マユリは一生唐揚げをむさぼっていろ。
Well, that's why it's trivial.
Yeah.
That's why it wouldn't cause really any divergence.
But wouldn't that make it the safest?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I will say it's nice that Daru is like sitting on the floor and letting like Makise sit in the love seat. It just seems like Daru's being pretty polite and respectful.
That's a good point.
Just
That's
wanted
a
to point that out.
good point. Silence descends upon us. Kurisu and Mayuri are still thinking, but I doubt they'll come up with anything good, though the brand seems like a good idea to me.
Seems like the safest bet if they could somehow overcome the D effect.
I mean, they don't know about it really. We're the ones who have
That's
noticed
true.
it and talked
Okay,
about
that's
it.
true. So maybe this is how they're gonna notice.
As for Moeka, I can't tell what she's thinking, or if she's even thinking at all, because I still haven't read a single one of those messages. She's just staring at her phone, motionless. Is she a human? Or some sort of terminal that people input instructions into, kind of like a Twitch plays human.
Oh god, don't even joke. Left, right, B-A, select, stop.
She's not even typing for a change.
結局、タイムマシンを前にしても思いつくことはそれほどないということだ。お前たちの想像力も実に大したことがないな。代案がなければ俺の案を採用する。
You want to know what the real reason is that they won't use this to win the lottery?
What?
Because they wouldn't be struggling kids with no options if they became extremely wealthy. Kind of ruined the whole story.
I suppose, yeah. Ragtag bunch of heroes.
Or ragtag bunch of not-cerns. Kurisu frowns, but surprisingly, she doesn't raise any more compliments. Well, she certainly didn't raise any compliments. Any more complaints? As I thought, she too wants to know if we can change the past. She's a scientist through and through. And, if I'm not mistaken, she has a bit of Muddo in her too. Hey!
Only when she's dealing with you.
Banana!
俺だ。これよりオペレーションウルドを第2段階に移行する。ああ、問題ない。責任はすべてこの法王院京馬が取る。 迷惑はかけんさ。
Because they don't exist.
Does it matter if he takes responsibility or not? If he destroys the whole world, are you just gonna say, well, it was your fault? Well, that doesn't help anything.
そう。これが俺の選択であり、同時にシュタインズゲートの選択でもある。聖戦は間近だ。エル、クサイ、コングル。
Now, Daru and Mayushi are one thing, but are like Kurisu and Moeka just gonna sit here and be like, what's he doing?
I think at this point, Makise is not going to be surprised at anything he does.
You're right.
And Moeka doesn't react to
Deo!
anything.
作戦開始。
開始って言われても、具体的に何をすればええの？
And what does your plan entail?
It's that whole specifics thing. No matter what your idea is, you have to actually get around to doing something.
俺に指示されなければ何もできないのか。
Well, you're the only person who seems to know what you're doing here.
まずは宝くじを買ってこなくちゃ。
いえ、過去の当選番号を手に入れればいいのよ。
Yeah, they need to see what the next winning number is and then send it to themselves, which is why they're gonna...
That's the Bill and Ted aspect.
Yeah, and which is why they're going to actually get the information in real time, or there's something else funny going on.
その通りだ、セレブセブンティーン。よくわかっているじゃないか。
I totally prefer Christina the zombie.
Me too.
セレブセブンティーン言うな。
I wonder what her next name's going to be.
つうかさ、宝くじにもいろいろ種類があるっしょ。ここはやっぱ夢のサマージャンボ行くしかなくね？
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's the state of lotteries in Japan, which I don't really know either, but they're kind of interesting, I guess. A lot of really small scale ones.
ああ、それね、こないだテレビの CM で見たよ。
当選発表はされたのか？
Actually, now that I think about it, they could probably win a couple as long as different people had the ticket. Like, if Hoing Kyoma was the one who kept winning time after time, that'd be suspicious. But what if Kyoma wins one, and then Daru wins one?
Well, you're just covering up a conspiracy at this point.
And?
来週か再来週だったはず。
それでは意味がないではないか。D メールは過去にしか送れないのだぞ。
ああ、そうだよな。じゃあ、サマージャンボの抽選日まで待つとか。
Well, we're not going to do that, clearly. Maybe there's some tiny little thing going on right now.
本末転倒だ。サマージャンボにこだわるな。一番近い時期に当選発表が行われた宝くじを探すのだ。
He's really good when it comes to motivation and vision, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he
That's
can't...
about all he has, but you know.
He can't do anything at all except lead and keep the big ideas in focus.
Well, you know, I'm reminded of One Piece, in which Luffy is the captain. He defeats guys. That's all he can do.
He can't do anything
He
else.
can't cook, he can't steer the ship, he can't fight with swords, he can't lie.
Oi.
But he can beat people up.
Well, specifically, he can barely even tell people what to do. Most of the time, if it doesn't matter, he just lets everyone else run everything.
Yeah, basically.
But when it comes to the big picture stuff...
ふむ。ちょっとググってみるわ。
Naru starts searching on the computer while I chug barley tea. It's good stuff.
87 new messages.
And he just ignores Moika's and goes straight to Nuka's.
I can't burn these Miko clothes. They're sacred. Besides, I've been wearing them for almost as long as I can remember. They just feel right. Was that Dad's plan? I'm strange too, aren't I?
Don't worry, Nukako. You're not the only one who's strange. Not only have I dressed up as a goth chick and an old lady, but I forgot the period in my line.
An omito.
What's the choice of Steins Gate, Billy?
I'll give you 3 guesses.
It's too late. You have no choice. but to give in. Accept your fate. Accept the will of Steins Gate!
And I'm not just saying that because I find you attractive in those Miko robes.
Meanwhile, Kurisu is thinking hard.
例えば、未来から当選番号が送られてきたとして、私は信じるかしら。
Well, you would now, maybe?
Yeah, that's the only way it would work.
あのね、マユシーはそもそも宝くじの買い方知らないな。
そうよね。10代の女の子は宝くじは買わないと思う。
Says the 18-year-old.
萌香は買ったことは？
It's what she's gonna say. She doesn't respond. I'm gonna take that as a no.
オカリンは買ったことあるの？
Thinking about it, he probably better respond to her at some point, or she's going to develop this, like, intense hatred for him, right?
She doesn't already.
Well, she's probably here to use him in some fashion.
ロト6を1回だけやったことがある。
What, like some little 7-Eleven scratcher? I didn't even get a penny.
おう、ロト6ならちょうどいいかも。あれって確か当選番号を毎週発表してるし。
A quick search reveals that Lotto 6 announces winning numbers every Thursday. They've also posted last week's 1st through 7th place numbers on their
こ
homepage.
の当たり番号を D メールで送るの？
Maybe we should do something more like the 5th or 6th. It's less suspicious.
Well, it's not going to be suspicious the first time anyway. The first time.
そういうことだ。
So what's gonna happen?
もちろん、これがロト6の当選番号だと補足してだが。
They can't send emails into the past because the past thems won't have the information that
But-
there's the emails that exist.
But now there's a bit more context, and we're gonna find out how this effect works.
Okay, good point. Good
Okay,
point.
because we've just commented on what we've observed
That's true.
and what Titor has said, I guess. Now the question
Hey.
is, do they have enough memory to send like Loto 6 plus
That's true.
the numbers?
Because they have to keep that in mind.
先週の一等だと、2億とか。
What? 200 million yen?
いや、待て！一等はまずい。
なんで？
2億はさすがにビビっちゃうわよね。
That's why they're called lotteries. Don't look at me like that.
That was terrible, man.
Hold on, I'll text myself a better joke.
いや、そうでもなく、一等は目立ちすぎる。
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Because somehow, Kyoma and I are in sync.
は？
わからないのか？俺は期間に追われている身なのだぞ。
I-
もしロト6で一等を出してマスコミから取材を受けることになってみろ。立ちどころに存在が知られてしまうことになる。
He does't actually have the confidence that he'll be able to use that kind of money. That's what it is. He's scared of the amount of money.
ならんわ。
じゃあマユシーが当選したことにすればいいんじゃないかな。
Sure, do it.
Mayushi will buy all the bananas.
ダメだ。オペレーションウルト第2段階はそこのセレセブが言ったようにリスクがあるのも事実。
A celeb Sev now.
セレセブって略すなよ。
責任は取るという意味で俺が当選者とならなければ。
And the money.
まさかあんた金を自分のものにしたいだけじゃなかろうな。
Well, there really is risk, and if he had all the money, then he'd be able to pass it out. I mean, he wouldn't have an excuse not to.
Yeah.
They could easily lean on him and make him.
Uh-huh.
I ignore Silasev's remark. the prospect of pocketing 200 million yen is certainly appetizing, but that would be too big a change to the past.
Why?
Well, it is conspicuous. There really might be people after him, but more, because of what's going on.
Right, okay, yeah, that's fair.
But even that aside, the point isn't to start by... Even when I was arguing that they should do this, it wasn't from the perspective of they should do this to figure out if you can. I had assumed that they had already figured out that they could and then would aim for the lottery as its own goal, not as the means to that goal. This way, there's no life-changing consequences. It's the smallest change.
That's a fair point.
Just like Celebsev said, we can't ignore the butterfly effect. We should flap our wings as softly as possible. I'm not scared or anything. Really.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's scared of the money. I think he's scared that it'll work.
Maybe.
Normally, all of his Chuny stuff is just Chuny stuff and he knows it.
Yeah.
The fact that he can instantly drop out of it when necessary.
That's a good point.
So he's like afraid that actually he's been right the whole time, and that's scary. Like afraid of success?
というわけで、ここは目立ちすぎずに2等を狙ってみようと思うのだが、ダリオ、2等の賞金は？
前回の配当金だと2300万円。
3等を狙ってみようと思うのだが。
I'm telling you, like sixth, fifth.
それだと70万まで減るけど。
I mean, that's like $7,000.
You can still do a lot with that.
それでいい。その辺が妥当だろ
う。岡部って結構チキンね。
さっきまでタイムパラドックスのリスクを心配していたとは思えない言い草だな、セレセグよ。
He's got her there.
お願いだからその呼び方やめて。せめて助手にして。
That was all part of his plan.
Brilliant, Okarin-san. I didn't think you had it in you.
それに、私はあんたの考え方に納得はしてない。
リスクを考えて、多すぎず少なすぎずの絶妙な金額を設定しようとしているのに、お前の方がよほどごつくばりだぞ。
どうだか。
No, you.
The ultimate retort. I decide to let Selesev have the last word this time.
70万円だとバナナはトラックの荷台山盛りになるかな
Yeah. And have plenty left over.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody said anything about using the entire dividend on bananas, but it looks like Mayuri intends to do so. Well, let's ignore the glutton for now. I'll bribe her with a carload or something later.
Oi! She's a glutton because she never gets to eat it.
There's a special relationship between giving Mayushi bananas
and taking them away.
He probably owes her many bananas. Far more bananas than she could ever eat. If he gave her a truckload of bananas...
It would all rot, yes.
They'd all rot, which is why all of them would get all the bananas anyway. So Okarin would still be stealing the bananas. Except this way, he'd have given her the bananas that he stole.
Oh.
3等なら数字を5個的中させる必要があるを。
Last week's 6 winning numbers were 2, 12, 19, 34, 35, and 40. The bonus number was 8. Oh, so it works exactly the same as it does here. First prize is for matching all 6 numbers. Second prize is for matching 5 numbers plus the bonus number. Third prize is for matching only 5 numbers.
萌えかよ。新たにラボメンとなったお前に最初の任務を与える。
Assign the right person for the job.
It's true!
If someone's going to get an email across as succinctly as possible within the parameters of an email, it's Shining Finger.
She doesn't even know the rules, but she doesn't have to. Because she is the expert of this. That is brilliant. Good catch.
Yeah.
She clearly didn't expect her name to be called, but what did she think she's doing here?
But you've been ignoring her this entire time, you jerk.
Shut up! That doesn't matter!
D メールとして送る文面を考えてもらおう。何も知らない1週間前の俺にロト6を買おうと思わせるような文章を考えてくれ。
My god, we're actually gonna find out!
Good!
私が
メールマンなのだからそういうのは得意だろ。
Monica doesn't seem that interested, but she doesn't seem that interested in anything, so she nods.
2 seconds later.
I am often in that pose, the thinker, as they say.
Okay.
What's sad is I really am in that pose.
It's true. Can confirm.
We sent the phone wave named subject to change to forward to my oh, that's what they said. To forward to my phone.
先週の木曜日っていうことは5日前か。D メールはそこに送るの？
Yes, and now we're hitting the point where that 5 days since the start of the game matters.
And now he's going to get that scrambly text video file.
Was it a video?
Yeah, because it was all staticky.
He got a video then, but why would there be a video that they're sending now?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, all right.
And was that Thursday?
I think so.
I think you're right that the game started on the
8th.
Yeah, the 28th.
But you're right, that wouldn't make sense if it was a video file.
終戦日が5日前だからそれより前に買っとかないとダメじゃね？
だったら1週間前ね。7日は168時間だから、
Okay.
ちょっと調整して170シャープでセットしましょう。
And that's before the game began.
Yes.
170シャープと。
What?
Huh? Hold on, I'm getting a text message.
What?
It's from me. It says, end the episode.
What?